This podcast is for SEO professionals, and each week, with the help of our wonderful guests, we discuss the important stuff that actually affects our careers and progression, but sadly often doesn't get talked about. You know, the invaluable soft and interpersonal skills that are often taken for granted, such as the skills we need for listening, time management, communication, and more. We also talk about the big issues that affect us and our careers, such as burnout, imposter syndrome, self-belief, saying no, plus other big issues and obstacles. With this podcast, we want to share knowledge on topics that unlock our listeners' true potential and enhance not only their careers, but all parts of their lives. So, are you ready to prioritize your own personal growth and career development? Then let's crack on with this week's episode.
Hello, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the SEO Mindset podcast, where your hosts are myself, Tasman Suleiman, and my very dear friend, Sarah McDowell. We have episodes going out every single Thursday, and this Thursday I spoke to the wonderful Emina Demiri-Watson about how do you navigate the future of SEO skills. Now, Emina has over 10 years of experience in digital marketing, both in-house and agency, and she's currently head of digital marketing at a Brighton-based digital marketing agency called Vixen Digital. Gosh, there are lots of digitals in that sentence. Apologies. She's a full-stack digital marketer with just a bit of extra passion for SEO, and describes herself as too curious to specialise, and we talk about that in the episode. What is she like outside work? Well, she is raising the powerhouse of a daughter, reading fantasy books and fishing. That's something new I discovered about her. Now, before recording, I was really unsure about the direction the conversation would go because she has so much to share, and I was right. It turned into such a hugely varied and empowering conversation. She spoke about the power of curiosity and how stress can really negatively impact this and impact your creativity. And then she shared her insights on when you are being put into these stressful situations, which, navigating the world of SEO that is already such a fast-paced industry and which is becoming faster and faster. How do you push back and protect yourself from that stress in order to be able to progress your career? So, I loved having a conversation with her, and I'm sure you're going to love listening to it. Now, before we get into all of the wisdom she has shared, a few reminders that if you are enjoying what Sarah and I are doing with the podcast, there are various ways that you can support us. One of those is through the Buy Me a Coffee link, which will be in the show notes, where you can give us a cheeky donation. Another, which is one we would really love for you to do, is to write us a review. So wherever you're listening to this podcast, go onto that platform and write a review for us. And lastly, but not leastly, share it with your nearest and dearest, with friends, family, with anybody that is interested in personal development. Share about the podcast and all the things we talked about, and we will be eternally grateful. So now let's listen to what Emina has to share, and I can guarantee you're going to love it. Hello, Emina. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Hi, Tasman. It's so great to be here. I mean, I'm a big fan of the podcast, so thank you for having me. So I'm excited.
I'm excited too. And it feels like tables have been turned because I was on your podcast, now you're on mine. And we're going to be spending so much time together in the next few months with Women in Tech, and then Brighton coming up in April. So, yeah, I think we should get used to spending more time with each other. This is a good beginning.
No, I told you, Tasman, you're going to have to get on stage with me for Women in Technical SEO to be my support, my Zen queen next to me, so I don't get too nervous. So.
Yeah. Before we started recording, I was telling Emina that maybe I should be her mascot, like on University Challenge. But she said, no, you be beside me and give me Zen vibes. But
Yeah, it's the support.
I'm also really interested in what you're going to share on the topic. And it's a very apt topic to be talking about at this time of the year because the topic today is about how SEOs can broaden their skill set to stay ahead in 2025. And a lot of people will be thinking about their goals, thinking about their career progression. We've recorded a few episodes on how to set yourself up for success. I'll put a link in the show notes. But it for me, it just feels like what was a really fast-paced industry has just got even faster.
Yeah, exactly. It is a little bit crazy out there at the moment, if I'm honest. We've had experiences with whole SEO teams being actually fired, which is just really scary. And I don't
Mhm.
want to scare anybody. This is why we're here, to
Yeah,
help you not to be scared, because there are things that you can do. But yeah, everything is changing so fast. You have AI overviews that are taking away traffic. Everybody playing around with LLMs. You have privacy, data privacy things coming up as well. And yeah, it's a bit of a volatile market at the moment. Yeah.
yeah. And then on top of it, even more focus on analytics, and then the whole branding piece. That just seems to be what everyone is talking about, including me.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. but the thing is, most of us have been talking about this for a very, very long time. It's just that now it has kind of bubbled up to the surface because there's no other way to rank really than Brad. That has always been the case, but more so now with LLMs because of how conversational search works. So, yeah, very relevant.
So, if you were to sum it up, what sort of skills, and we'll go into more depth as we talk, but identify a few skills that people should be either starting to get to be more familiar with or broadening their knowledge.
I mean, in terms of kind of the hard skill and the soft skill, I think the opportunities obviously are understanding LLMs and understanding AI. I think every SEO will need to be able to handle that. But there's a lot of soft skills that come into that, which people forget. They always think, oh, it's all about the hard skills. But it's not just about the hard skills, it's also about things like critical thinking when it comes to AI, because it's very important not just to leave it all up to AI. Come to Women in Technical SEO and listen to me talk about this. There's the idea of responsibility and ethics as well, which again is a soft skill. So it's not just about understanding things like temperature settings in LLMs. It's about these soft skills as well, which SEOs already have. Then there's CRO, that conversion rate optimization. I think that has always been part of a skill set that we should have as SEOs. Obviously, you've mentioned analytics, a really, really big one. Again, there's soft skills both in CRO and in analytics that can help us achieve that level of upskilling. And then at the end, you said it yourself, Tasman, it's brand, it's like channel alignment, it's thinking holistically about your marketing and not just thinking about SEO in a silo. So just a few of them, a
Just a
lot to
few.
learn for SEOs.
You know, obviously, this podcast is, as you said, here to help people progress in their career, but also to look after their well-being. And that, it sounds like a lot. If somebody's listening and thinking, "Wow, should I be specializing? Should I learn a bit of everything? What should I do next?"
I think it really depends on where your interests are. I always say, I describe myself as too curious to specialize because my interests are very wide and I just like learning. So, and I'm interested one week in this, the other week in that, but it's all useful skills. So if you're like me and you're interested in many things, then think about what are those things and how you can, develop a career in them or how you can upskill yourself. So for me, it's all of those. For you, it might be just one of them. It might just be, okay, right, I'm very curious about how when somebody comes from SEO, what actually makes them go to a contact us form? Can we get them to actually do a different action, not just to read our article? In that case, maybe conversion rate optimization is for you. And think about also who you are as a person. So if you are very creative, for example, then maybe CRO is a good option for you. If you like problem solving, then maybe analytics is a good kind of upskilling opportunity. Don't I mean, it's tough for me to say don't spread yourself too thinly because I spread myself quite thinly. But that's who I am. I'm a very curious person. So start from you, think about who you are as a person, and then go from there.
Again, we've been talking about this time and time again. Self-awareness is so important in your career progression. And we created this Ikigai freebie last Brighton SEO for people to take a step back and think about what is it that they're interested in, what do they love doing, what do they find really easy when other people would find it really difficult, and honing in on your natural skills, because if you go with the grain, you're going to be far more in flow in your career than to go against the grain. So that's really great advice. And just because you may choose to specialize, but you can still use that curiosity to go deeper and deeper and become a real expert in that field.
Yeah, exactly. And it's some might find that by expanding their skills and not just focusing on pure SEO, if that even exists, they might find that they actually really love it. You might find that CRO is a brilliant option because you really enjoy it. It really connects to who you are as a person, and you might specialize in CRO. You might decide that it's analytics. There's so many avenues, or you might be like me and decide it's everything.
You mentioned we often look at the hard skills, and this is very typical of teams that want to invest, or companies that want to invest in their teams. They go for the hard skills, but it's the soft skills that give you so much leverage. What sort of soft skills do you suggest that people either start building or improve on? I mean, you've mentioned critical thinking. What other things?
Critical thinking is a massive one. I think that's like one of the most important ones, considering where we're going in terms of AI and LLMs. I mean, real AI doesn't really exist, it's LLMs. The other one that's a really interesting one is the creativity one. I think with the rise of brand in particular is something that's super important in SEO, even more so now with the AI overviews. Being creative is going to be one of the skills that is, it's a really good soft skill to have, because you're going to have to be creative in how you approach ranking in AI overviews. You're going to have to be creative about having a very clear brand message that you use in your SEO that then helps you rank. Whereas before, probably that some SEOs haven't been as creative. So you're going to have to kind of be thinking about that. There's communication skills and storytelling skills. I think those are really, really important. They're important for this analytics piece, but they're also important when it comes to pure SEO. It's going to be more and more difficult to show the impact that you have as an SEO. And to do that effectively, you need to be able to not just read data and analytics, you need to tell a story to your C level of where things are going. I mean, there's so many things so many things, so many, and we forget that. We forget that we have these transferable skills that we can take with us into the upskilling process. We just, some of us get scared. They look at AI and they think, oh my God, all technical. But you already have many of those skills as well. So remember that.
And I think in that scenario that you talked about, analyzing, finding the story, communicating that, again, communication is something that people think they know how to do it. People think it's an obvious thing, but to communicate and communicate well, there's a big difference. And there is a learned behavior because we never are taught how to listen. We're never taught to, maybe in the written context, we look at a comprehension, read a big piece of text and summarize it, but being able to do that with a conversation and then respond with a question rather than having the pressure to having to respond with an answer. That's usually what we end up trying to do. But it's often that question that will give you even more insight.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
lot of what you're saying about the intuition, the curiosity, the critical thinking, all of this is far easier to do when you're not stressed.
Oh God, yeah. Oh God, yeah. It's far easier to do. And particularly, we started off by saying, okay, there's all of these different things that are happening at the moment. No wonder some SEOs are
Yeah,
stressed. They're stressed about it. So it's very difficult to kind of like take a step
yeah.
back and take stock and change your perspective. But without doing that, you won't be able to even look at these opportunities that are in these changes.
I remember a few way back when Kirsty Hulse, I mean, she still does training, but she had a training course about creativity, and she said it's one that doesn't get booked very often, but one organization had booked her, and she went and she got them to more or less meditate, just close their eyes and think about something, and then in the end, the suddenly answers were popping in their head because if you don't allow your mind space, where are those new thoughts going to come from?
Yeah, exactly. And it can be hard. It can be hard with everything that's
Yeah.
going on, but it's so important. I mean, it's a really good point. I think it's easy to say, oh, you need this skill or that skill. You need to be in the right state of mind to be able to run with it and absorb it. And good point, Hasmin. This is why you're coming with me to Women in Technical
If
SEO
there are any
to
too many, if
meditate.
there's anyone listening who manages a team that has to learn these new skills, asking them, have you done it yet? Have you done it yet? Have you done it yet? Probably won't get the result that you want. So give them a break, give them some space, and just let them be for a bit and give them no stress. That would be my dream. No stress zone here.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like thinking about teams rather than, if you are one of the SEOs that is currently a little bit stressed with everything that's going on in the industry, my advice to you is rather than waiting for your managers to come to you and say, okay, like you need to do this training and this training and this training and this training, why don't you sit down and as Tasman says, think about who you are, self-reflect, and then create a plan for you to go to your manager and say, okay, right, SEO is changing. This is how I think it's going to change. These are the skills I already have that kind of match with where I want to go. And these are the trainings that I want to do. So you are already proactively going and saying, look, I am valuable. My role is valuable. I know how I want to grow, and you have to make it happen.
That is a wonderful thing to be able to do. How about after the break, we help people go a little bit deeper in how to do that and why? Because that'll be the question. The manager will say, "Why do you need to get better at this?" But it's been a great chat so far. Let's take a quick break and we'll come back with even more answers.
The live podcast is back. SEO Mindset and Search with Candour is teaming up again to record a podcast in front of a live audience the night before Brighton SEO. And the topic is all about personal brand. We'll be discussing what this is, why it's important, and sharing strategies and our own experiences. Time for the important details. It's happening Wednesday, the 9th of April, 2025. From 7 p.m. at Projects The Lanes. It's free to attend and there'll be free pizza, snacks and drinks. Please help us to spread the word. Tell your friends, your work colleagues, anyone and everyone, anyone who you think would really enjoy this event. It was a sellout last time, so grab your ticket today to secure your spot. To do that, simply head on over to the show notes and you'll find a link. We really look forward to seeing you on the night. Ever feel like your SEO strategy could use a boost? At Previsible, they don't just optimize websites, they build strategies to scale organic growth. Their team of seasoned experts partners with businesses at every stage, from startups to enterprises, crafting solutions that actually move the needle. Whether it's hands-on SEO consulting, recruiting the perfect SEO team, or empowering your in-house talent, Previsible has you covered. Visit previsible.io or follow the links in the show notes to see how they're pushing SEO forward, one strategy at a time. Ready to rank higher? Then let's get started. Introducing Clear Narrative Media, a purpose-led media marketing agency that transforms how founders, creatives, and organizations share their stories online. Dedicated to assisting you with all your marketing, content, and strategy needs. Their services include photography, consultancy, and social media management. Clear Narrative Media is here to transport your visions to life. They are on a mission to help you to create awareness, build visibility, and enhance your business and professional growth overall. For more information, head over to their website at cnmedia.com or follow the link in the show notes.
So, Emina, you gave us a lot to think about before the break, a lot. And I'm just thinking, so all of these new skills that people are being encouraged to learn, may even feel pressurized to learn. And we've already established it's a lot. And although there's a lot of technical stuff, there is these soft skills that are really useful and really transferable. Here I am, I'm going to pretend I'm a very young entry level.
You are young, Tasman. You are young, not in experience, in spirit and age. Not
Very
old.
young person. And I have a desire to get really good at these soft skills. And we've talked about things like curiosity. Now, to be curious, like we said, you have to be less stressed, more open. How is that going to? Because at the time, there I am thinking, I've got to learn this thing, I've got to get better. And Emina's telling me, take a chill pill and be curious. Tell me how you see that.
It's an interesting one, the curiosity one, because I am, I'm a very animated person. I'm full of energy, always get really excited, and I get stressed quite easily. I'm one of these people who will let things get to her quite a lot. And I think that the concept of curiosity really helped me kind of manage myself a bit better as well, because if you approach something with curiosity, it's immediately immediately it kind of makes you feel better. So, oh, why is that? Rather than, ooh, reacting impulsively on it. And it just gives you a little bit of space. Just even thinking about it in terms of curiosity gives you a bit of space to kind of think and take a step back. Don't you find? I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly, Tasman. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. So, for example, when I'm working with clients, and a lot of the time they'll come to me because they want to go for the next promotion or they want to get better at public speaking. And some of that is inner work. What is that inner chatter saying to you? What are your belief system? And there's a lot of reflection to do. And I say to them, reflect with curiosity and kindness. So if a person is reflecting and they think, I always do that thing wrong, it is very judgmental. It is very harsh. And it's very hard then to make improvements because you feel rubbish about yourself. You've berated yourself for doing that thing wrong. So imagine you've given a talk or you've delivered a workshop, and then you think back to it and think, I said that thing wrong and I did that thing wrong and I should have done that thing there. But if you approach it with curiosity, I wonder why at that point I didn't ask a question to the audience and then it's different because then you're wondering, could it have been because I wasn't prepared for the answer? Was it because I was rushing? Was it because, I had that script in my mind and I didn't want to deviate from that script? Then you're far more reflective. And again, that curiosity you take to another level. If I was too tied to the script, I wonder next time if I can play around with that a little bit more. Because when you are curious and playful, and we think about how we teach children, 4-year-olds don't go to school and get sat at a desk and told, this is how you figure out this. It is playfulness, it is not knowing the answer and being open to a different answer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you put it so well. I think it is about that, and I think it can be hard sometimes to be curious. It can be very hard. We work with clients every day, and let's say you get really negative feedback from a client. It's very difficult to approach that with curiosity. It's the same thing with these changes in the industry that are happening. Very difficult to have curiosity when you are like scared whether you're going to have a job tomorrow or not. But it really does help because I don't know. It's just that there's a power to it because you can take that step back. So I mean, you've explained it so eloquently.
I heard something yesterday. It was a book recommendation. I think it was called The Masters, and it was looking at people in history that had done something amazing. But actually, it was often their hardship that had led to it. And she was quoting the bit about Michelangelo. Now, Michelangelo, I believe, was born out of wedlock. And that meant, back in the day, that was really frowned upon, and it meant he couldn't go into formal education. So then he was self-taught, and it was through curiosity and experimentation that he actually got to where he got to. So if you have time and the patience and, again, speaking to all of the people who lead teams, allow some curiosity, allow some time for people just to think things through, probably get much further than if you are,
Oh,
micromanaging.
definitely. It needs to be kind of, you need to give that space to your teams to just to discover what they're good at and what they're interested in, and to innovate in their roles rather than just standing around and firing your whole SEO team because your traffic has dropped and this it's really not the way to do it, and it creates that stress and it creates it difficult to be curious when when you're in that situation. I mean, I'm super curious about everything, but that doesn't mean that I don't have my poison parrot as well sometimes. And so I can understand it. It does help to structure it in that way,
And
though.
if we take a step back, so the whole episode is about new things to learn and how can you get ahead and make sure that you learn those things. So I would imagine that if you're presented with a new piece of software you have to learn, or a new technology, or a new situation, rather than thinking it is brand new and everything about it is unknown, take a step back, be curious. What do I already know that will help here?
Exactly. And that applies really well to some of these skills for 2025 that are really, really relevant. So let's say you are, you are not as, how to use analytics, but you're not proficient in using GA4, which we all hate GA4. I mean, it's just a complete nightmare. Even people who are analytical hate it. Rather than being scared of it, when you open it, think about what you can do. So if you are a person who's great at storytelling, think, okay, right, I just need to cover some of the hard skills, understand how it works, get myself familiar with reports. But I have the storytelling nailed down, if I can do that bit. Or other way around is also important. If you're a very analytical SEO and you have no problems with taking on a new software and stuff, think about, what am I missing to communicate this better? How am I going to get heard by my manager? Maybe that's the piece that's missing. Maybe I need some soft skills, and I train myself in upskill myself in the soft skills to make this happen. So it just depends on what kind of person you
And
are.
this is why,
Yeah.
again, those achievement logs that we recommend people to keep, pull that out. What sort of things have you already learned? What skills have you already got under your belt? And if a team leader or manager is pushing at you, remember that for them it is also new. So you too can push back and say, look, I know it's new, I know it's scary, but us working together is going to get us further than us not working, working against each other. So feel you have my permission to push back.
Yeah, and you should sometimes. I think it's super important, particularly when you're thinking about these new skills. You don't have to know all of them. You don't have to be an expert in CRO, an expert in analytics, an expert in AI. You like, if I tried that, I don't know where I would be. I mean, I'm interested in all of it, so there's no way. So you have to kind of take a step back and just think, okay, right, my manager is telling me you have to do all of these things, but that might not be true. I think these are the things that I'll enjoy doing and that I will have curiosity for rather than stress. So yeah.
Wonderful. So you're going to share some resources, but before we get to that, I just want to summarize that you were talking about all of the new stuff to learn. Go back to your soft skills and see what you already have in place. Be curious, take the pressure off yourself. You don't have to know everything. And if there is a soft skill that you think, by getting better at this, I'm going to get better at the whole thing, then suggest it to your manager and why you think that would be a good route for you to go down. Have I summarized that well? Are you happy with that, Emina?
You've done it. Really, really happy with it. I would add also, and kind of coming back to the conversations about the poison parrot, be kind to yourself. Yeah. I mean, I know, Tasman, I'm preaching to the choir here, but yeah, it's also about being kind to yourself. Not that I'm always kind to myself, so I should like practice what I preach, but I
Right.
know that it works.
Absolutely. So now tell us about these great resources you've got for us.
So There's a lot out there. I think if you're thinking about going into the AI space, which I'm super interested in it at the moment, we all know part of the women in technical community is Lazarina Stoy. She is an absolute, I mean, hands down, the best expert that I've seen. And she explains it in a way that it's not scary, which is really, really important. So have a look at her ML for machine learning for SEO. The other one in that space is Brittany Murphy. Brittany Mueller. Sorry, terrible with names. She is really, really good on the data science side of things and on the LLM side of things. There's a few. If you're interested in CRO, there's a few experts there. Like, for example, there's Talia Wolf, who is really, really good. And then, I mean, even if you go to with the CRO, it's interesting. I remember doing user testing 10 years ago using Steve Krug's It's Not Rocket Science book, which is an absolute classic. So going back and reading some of the classics is really important as well. And it's so easy to digest. So I would definitely recommend that. Analytics is another one. I mean, with analytics, I was really impressed with Marco Giordano, who did a Brighton SEO talk, and the way that he explains analytics, it's quite approachable and quite interesting. And I mean, on our website, to kind of shout about our resources as well, if you want to get into upskill yourself in like the paid or organic social, for example, we have a lot of templates on our website that you can use and download. We also have a GA4 audit that you should definitely check out. That will give you some understanding of GA4. And listen to our podcast. We have a podcast as well. SEO is Getting Coffee. We often share stuff around AI and CRO, and I'm hoping to get somebody from the paid media team to come and talk to us about paid media.
Wonderful. I will put links to all of this in the show notes. So if you're listening and any of those are tickling your fancy, you know where to look.
This is a special segment of the podcast where I have the ever so delightful and my good friend Crystal Narco joining me from Clear Narrative Media to talk to me about a special promotion called Clear Cut Initiative. So tell me and tell our audience about Clear Cut Initiative. What is it?
So the Clear Cut Initiative is a new promo that we're about to introduce, and it's typically for founders, business owners, creatives, or just anyone who is looking to advance their personal brand. It comes in a package of 3, which includes a strategy consulting session with us to help understand who you are as a person, how to elevate your personal brand, and how to make sure that you get the reach that you desire. We will also throw in some headshots in there, make sure that you've got some good images and some videos. And then finally, what we will do is make sure that we amplify your story. So we'll have some storytelling sessions, to make sure that you've got the facts right, you know how to present your story, you know how to captivate the audience and the people that you're trying to engage with. And that's all that's included in the package.
Now, why is this important? Why is it important for people to, one, take on this initiative, but also why is personal brand? Why is this important to people?
So we live in a day and age whereby it's so easy to find anything and everything that you're looking for from just searching it up online. And if you are a founder, a business owner, someone that's trying to elevate yourself via your personal branding, this is so important. Many of the times I've seen people who have old pictures of themselves that doesn't necessarily represent them in the best light. A lot of people that want to be out there, that want to be foundable, whether that's for business purposes or career purposes, they don't understand how to do that. They don't understand how to tell their story. And at Clear Narrative Media, we believe that everybody has a story worth telling. They just need to know how to do that. So we want to be that support system. We want to make sure that they've got the right tools and resources that they need to be able to find their desired customers or find their desired employers, and make sure that they are shining clearly in the right light.
How much is this, please?
So we are doing an offer where we are offering the first 100 people who sign up to this promo at a price of £250. So that's the first 100 people to sign up. The price will be £250, and then after that, the price will go up.
Crystal, this sounds absolutely fabulous. I want to sign up. I want to be one of those first 100 people. How can people do that? How can people sign up?
So they can sign up, Sarah, using the link in the show notes, or they can head over to our website, cnmedia.com, and then click on the Clear Cut Initiative page, and then that will take them straight up to the form to sign up.
Lovely stuff. So either head on over to the show notes, and you know that me and Tasman are always directing people to the show notes anyway, because there's always lots of resources, lots of useful links. And yeah, so the link to this initiative will be there, or you can go directly to Clear Narrative Media's website, which is, what's the URL, please, Crystal?
It's CN Media. That's CNMEDIAA.com.
Well, this sounds absolutely fabulous. I'm sure loads of people will be signing up. Thank you very much for joining me, Crystal.
You have given us a lot of great advice, a few more. So from all of the people that you've mentioned, is there anyone else that we should be following?
I mean, look, in terms of soft skills, you're the man, Tasman. I think all of these, like all of you and Sarah, are really, and this podcast is really good on the kind of the soft skill side of things. Specifically, do you mean specifically in these areas for upskilling, or
Anyone?
just in general who I admire?
Yeah.
Who I admire. I think if I was gonna, from the people that I've mentioned, I think Women in Technical SEO as a community has one of the best, smartest pool of marginalized people that I have ever seen. I mean, what Arij is doing, follow Arij, join the community. The other one that I really admire and I would always promote and say is neurodivergence in SEO as a community for people with neurodiversity or who suspect that they're neurodiverse, or who want to hang out with people who might think differently and are maybe different. It's brilliant. I mean, I'm part of so many Slack communities, so I always say the Slack ones, SEO community, which is one of the really long-standing one. That's quite, it's brilliant. Jack from Candor is a big fan of that as well. So definitely join communities. If I'm going to give you one advice, join communities, learn from people, go and meet people and just make a connection. I think that also makes a big difference.
And then you don't feel so alone. You've got someone to talk to. No, brilliant. I'll be putting links to all of these. Emina, what's the best career advice you've ever received?
I mean, I don't want to say be curious because that's like my kind of tagline. I think the best career advice that I've ever received was just to go for it, just to be brave. Because I think a lot of the time that is what's stopping you from taking that next step. I recently mentored somebody as part of the Women in Technical SEO. And when we started, she was, she wanted to progress in her job. And our first meeting was very much about kind of digging into those blockers, what's stopping her. And it was the confidence. It wasn't that she hasn't been doing these things that will enable her to progress. It was the confidence that she lacked to just, go for it. The worst thing that can happen is somebody turning around and saying no, And yes, you might agonize over it. I do sometimes as well. I say, oh, be brave. It's hard to be brave, but you have to do it. And yeah, that was my best advice, is just go for
I
it.
love that. I love that. That is brilliant advice. And we hear it again and again. So if you're hearing this and think, I've always heard this, that's your cue to really take on board what Emina's just said. Emina, thank you so much. It's been a great episode. Lots of valuable tips that you've shared. And, we've gone under the bonnet of just be you, just enjoy the process, and like you said, be curious. So thank you.
Thank you, Tasman. I mean, I love talking to you always, so I could sit here for
Oh, we're
hours.
going to be hanging out lots in the next few months. You'll be fed up of. um,
No, never.
a reminder to everyone listening that we have episodes that go out every Thursday. So thank you so much for listening. A reminder that if you'd like to support what Sarah and I are doing, there's various ways of doing it. One of them is to buy us a coffee. So there is a link in the show notes if you'd like to make a one-off donation. Another thing which would be super helpful is wherever you're listening to this, if you could leave us a review, that would be wonderful, and share about the podcast far and wide so that it's not just for people who are in SEO. Anyone who wants to get better at their soft skills, please recommend us and help us grow. Thank you so much. So it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Emina.
Don't forget about that live podcast happening the night before Brighton SEO, which is all about personal brand. Yep, the SEO Mindset and Search with Candour podcasts are teaming up again. It's happening Wednesday, the 9th of April, 2025 from 7 p.m. at Projects The Lanes. It's free to attend and there'll be free pizza, snacks and drinks. Please help us to spread the word. Tell your friends, work colleagues, anyone and everyone. Help us shout it from the rooftops. It was a sellout last time, so to avoid that horrible FOMO feeling, grab your ticket today to secure your spot. Head on over to the show notes for the link, and we look forward to seeing you on the night. Looking to create awareness, build visibility, and enhance growth for your business, organization, or yourself? Introducing Clear Narrative Media, a purpose-led media and marketing agency that transforms how founders, creatives, and organizations share their stories online. Dedicated to assisting you with all your marketing, content, and strategy needs. You can find them on all social media platforms and online at cnmediaa.com or follow the link in the show notes. Today's episode is brought to you by Previsible, your partner in scalable SEO growth. From consulting to recruiting and AI search optimization, Previsible's solutions are built for brands looking to lead in search. Discover what a strategy-first approach can do for your visibility. Learn more at previsible.io or follow the links in the show notes and start seeing results that last.